Did you know over 2,000 children die every year in the United States from injuries? Injuries are one of the leading causes for the fire department to be called out to help people. Hi, I'm Dr. Jeffrey Pellegrino. I'm part of the Hudson Fire Department and part of the American Red Cross. Together, our organizations are really working hard to reduce that number every year. And you're going to be part of that solution. One, because you're a caring, wonderful person, and you have a new wonderful person coming into your life. Over the next few minutes, I want to help you think about your life at home. Help you organize some ways to keep yourself safe as well as your new growing family. We'll start with some kitchen ideas. We'll talk about the fire itself, and then we'll even get into some safety issues to help you get out of the house even faster. And then we'll end up talking about infant CPR, which is something that you'll have a chance to practice with at home and then be ready for if your child or a child that you might be near has a cardiac arrest. So I look forward to sharing that with you over the next few minutes. Thank you.
This message is brought to you by the U.S. Fire Administration. Have two ways out. When fire strikes, deadly smoke can fill your home within minutes. That's why the USFA wants you to plan and practice home fire drills. Draw a map of each level of your home showing all doors and windows. Discuss the map with everyone who lives with you. Practice your home fire drill at least twice a year. Make sure all doors and windows that lead outside open easily. Push the smoke alarm button to start the drill. Try feeling your way in the dark or with your eyes closed. Have at least two ways out of every room. If your first way out is blocked by fire or smoke, you can use your second way out. If there is smoke, get low and go. Crawl quickly under the smoke to your nearest exit. Close doors behind you and gather at a pre-planned outside meeting place where first responders can see you. Call 911. Remember, get out and stay out. Never go back inside for people, pets, or things. Learn more at www.usfa.fema.gov.
Welcome to the kitchen, the most dangerous room in your house. From the knives that might be on our counters to the hot water that may be coming out of our sinks, children need to be really safe, and that's part of our responsibilities. I want to talk about your range as a place that you want to be particularly careful of. Ranges have a number of different issues, whether it's a gas range and a leak, or an electrical appliance that can start an electrical fire. As we approach understanding when an emergency happens, we use our senses, and that could be the sense of smell, the sense of sight, and so we want to use those to understand what's happening. If something smells odd and it's not just burning food, we want to be considering, should we call 911 right away? If there's a smell of a burning plastic or something that feels real foreign to you, it may be something that's actually on the inside of your stove. We want you to get your children out of the house, call 911, and let a professional come and assess what's happening. If you are baking and there's a fire inside of your oven and you can see that smoke, one of the things that fire likes is oxygen. If we can cut that off by closing the door, that'll keep the fire contained. That'll give us enough time to arrive at the fire truck and to help you out. When there is a surface type of fire, say in a frying pan, you have a couple of different options. One of the things that we don't want you to do, though, is put water on that fire. Water and oil don't mix, and it may spread the fire. If you have the opportunity and you had some baking soda, you could put that on. But the recommendation is to take a lid of some sort or a tray and to put that over the top of it. Again, what we're doing is reducing the amount of oxygen, and that's going to put out your fire. Another resort is to go back to your fire extinguisher. One of the challenges, though, is where do you keep it? Some people may consider putting their fire extinguisher underneath their sink. And if you have it and it's handy, it might be okay. The challenge is, over time, that fire extinguisher starts to move underneath that cabinet as you put more and more things in there. So be careful. As you're thinking about finding a fire extinguisher maybe for your home, or understanding the fire extinguisher that may have existed in your home, size is going to be of importance. This size fire extinguisher will be super helpful for a kitchen-based fire, or maybe up to the size of a trash can. We want you to be careful, though, that you might find very small fire extinguishers that are aerosol-based. These fire extinguishers are not tested appropriately and may not function as you need it. So as you're looking for fire extinguishers, remember to look for a quality one that is marked as tested. So fire extinguishers all have some common properties. They all have a mechanism for you to release it, a mechanism for you to not accidentally release it, and then an apparatus for being able to spray it. So let's go over these parts really quick. The handle here is where you're going to be releasing whatever your extinguisher is made of. The pin, or a safety of some sort, is going to be able to prevent that from being squeezed. We're going to use the mnemonic PASS, P-A-S-S. P stands for pull the pin, then you're going to aim the device, you're going to then squeeze the handle together and sweep. That sweeping motion at the base of the fire is going to help put it out at its base so it won't re-flare up on you. So to put PASS into practice, we have a virtual fire here, and I want to show you the fire extinguisher. P, pull the pin, we're going to aim the device, and then we're going to squeeze the handle together, aiming at the base of the fire, sweeping. Those are the 4 steps, P-A-S-S. Pull the pin, aim, squeeze the handle, and sweep across the base. So we're out in our little test range right now. People often drop off old fire extinguishers to us at the fire department. We want to try just 2 of them really quick, but I have a couple of things I want to point out to you. Notice how these have gotten dirty over time? That's not such a big deal, but there's a dry chemical in a lot of these that often get compacted at the bottom. So every 6 months or so when you change your fire detector batteries, give this a shake and you should be able to feel the chemicals moving up and down. There's also a gauge on a lot of these fire extinguishers. This particular one isn't showing that it is properly charged. So fire extinguishers come in different shapes. This is one that has a couple of different things that we haven't seen before. It has a gauge, which we want to make sure is on full when we check it every 6 months. We want to make sure that powder in there is also free every 6 months. And then when it comes time to actually using it, knowing what we're actually pulling and squeezing. We have a pin here, and then we have a squeeze handle down here. So let's go with our PASS acronym by pulling the pin. We're going to aim the fire extinguisher at the base of the fire, and then we're going to squeeze the handle in a sweeping motion. As we talked about in the beginning around fire escape plans, a couple of things I want to remind you of. If you detect a fire, you want to institute that plan as soon as possible. That means getting everybody outside of the house and then calling 911. When we talked about fire extinguishers, I also want to remind you that fire extinguishers are tools for adults. We do not want children to spend time and put themselves at risk by staying in the house trying to use a fire extinguisher to help. So again, as a good parent, make sure you have the tools and the resources, but practice your fire escape plan and make sure everybody knows how to get out.
Hi everyone again. I've taken off my firefighter helmet, I've put on my Red Cross shirt, and want to share a couple things about some tragedies that happen in households because children are inquisitive and sometimes we take our attention away from them and they get themselves into trouble. The thing I'm talking about is choking. Choking is one of the major hazards for infants and for toddlers, even children. It's one of the biggest killers of them. And so we as parents and caregivers need to be aware of the foods and other choking hazards that are around us. And that's based on shape and size and consistency of the item or the food, and also the developmental behaviors of the child themselves. So there are many foods that might be thought of as kid-friendly, like grapes, right? Or popcorn or nuts. But those are actually pretty good plugs for that child's airway. And so we need to be careful. We need to be particularly careful around hot dogs if you could probably think of the best shape of a plug for an airway, it would probably be that hot dog. So what can we do? Well, we need to be careful of what we introduce to our children in terms of how they can access different things. And we need to put things on their plate that are small enough that they can get down. And so cutting hot dogs lengthwise instead of, into the little circles might be a good way to do that. We could change the shape of grapes and maybe cut them into quarters in 4 different places. And so those are going to be helpful. So don't give children high-risk foods such as hard candies, nuts, seeds, or even healthy things like raw carrots. So be careful. Never let children run or play while eating. Keep coins and other small items away from them, out of the reach of young children. And carefully read any of the warning labels that have been introduced into a lot of products these days in keeping them away from young children. And then toys are also a problem for many children, the things that might break off. So test that device, make it around, make sure nothing comes off, okay? So, and then one of the best things you can do is pay attention to what's coming next. This is the first aid that you would do to help a child if they are choking. But first we want to learn, how do we recognize choking in the first place? And I'm going to share a video that allows you to see choking in adults and children, but then also infants. So recognizing that our children are going to grow up at some point because we're paying attention. So here's the next video.
A person who is choking may look panicked, confused, or surprised, or hold the neck with one or both hands. You may hear coughing or high-pitched squeaking noises, or nothing at all. If you are with a person who starts to choke, first, ask the person if he or she is choking, or check to see if an infant is crying. Then, obtain consent to help. If the person can speak or cry or is coughing forcefully, encourage the person to keep coughing. A person who is getting enough air to speak, cry, or cough forcefully is getting enough air to breathe. But be prepared to act if the person's condition changes. If the person is making high-pitched noises or is unable to speak, cry, or cough forcefully, the airway is blocked. Have someone call 911 or the designated emergency number immediately while you begin to give first aid for choking. The person will soon become unresponsive unless the airway is cleared.
Can I help
After
you?
confirming that the person is choking and obtaining consent, give a combination of 5 back blows and 5 abdominal thrusts. First, position yourself to the side and slightly behind the person. Bend the person at the waist so that his upper body is as parallel to the ground as possible. Firmly strike the person between the shoulder blades with the heel of your hand. Give 5 back blows. After the 5th back blow, reposition yourself to stand with one foot in front of the other, placing your front foot in between the person's feet to provide balance and stability. Find his navel with 2 fingers from one hand. With your other hand, make a fist and place the thumb side against the person's stomach, right above your fingers. Cover the fist with your other hand. Give 5 abdominal thrusts, pulling inward and upward. Continue giving sets of 5 back blows and 5 abdominal thrusts until the object is forced out and the person can cough forcefully, speak, or breathe. Or, if the person becomes unresponsive, send someone to call 911 if it has not already been done. Carefully lower the person to a firm, flat surface and immediately begin CPR, starting with compressions if you are trained. For a child, you might need to kneel in order to give effective back blows and abdominal thrusts. After confirming that the infant is choking and obtaining consent, give a combination of 5 back blows and 5 chest thrusts. First, Place your forearm along the infant's back, cradling the back of her head with your hand. Place your other forearm along the infant's front, supporting her jaw with your thumb and fingers. Do not cover the infant's mouth. Turn the infant over and lower her onto your thigh so she is face down with her head lower than her chest. Give 5 back blows. Firmly strike the infant between the shoulder blades with the heel of your hand. Then, reposition the infant. Place one hand along the infant's back, cradling the back of the infant's head with your hand. Next, turn her over so she is face up with her head lower than her chest. Give 5 chest thrusts. Place 2 fingers in the center of the infant's chest, just below the nipple line. Press down about 1.5 inches, then let the chest return to its normal position. Continue giving sets of 5 back blows and 5 chest thrusts until the object is forced out and the infant can cough forcefully, cry, or breathe, or until she becomes unresponsive.
When a child is choking, we are able to get the obstruction out. Generally, a child is able to recover, but we still need to call 911 and make sure they get checked out. For a child who we're not able to get the obstruction out, we also need to be calling 911 very early. A couple of things I encourage you to do from a firefighter perspective and from a parental perspective. One, shout for help immediately, get somebody's attention, and get them calling 911. Take the child then out into the street, meet that ambulance right where it's going to end up, so they don't have to take time to get equipment out and get into the house. Go to them. Time is of the essence. Now, if a child, again, is not able to get the obstruction out, then we're going to have to eventually expect them to pass out, or we may find them unresponsive. So in the next set of videos, we're going to talk about infant CPR. And that infant CPR is where we're going to help a child who's not breathing and who does not have a heartbeat, or what we would say is non-responsive. So this is a very highly stressful situation. You need to understand that you're going to react probably quite strongly to this, and you'll develop some superpowers as a parent, most likely, and we want you to encourage to do that, to take care of the child. This may also be a situation where you might be around somebody else's child and need to help them. So we want to encourage you to use these skills not only for your own children, but for all the children that might be around you. So please pay attention to the next video about infant CPR. You can go home and practice this on a baby doll of some sort. Do not practice it on your real child because we're actually compressing their chest and blowing into them. We don't want to actually hurt them. This is a skill that we would use in an emergency. All right, thanks.
If an infant is unresponsive and not breathing or only gasping, assume cardiac arrest and begin CPR. Ensure the infant is on her back on a firm, flat surface such as the ground.
The baby's unresponsive.
Next, stand or kneel to the side of the infant and place 2 fingers on the breastbone just below the nipple line with your hand closest to the infant's feet. Now, give 30 chest compressions. Using the tips of your fingers, push down about 1.5 inches and then let the chest return to its normal position. Continue to push hard and fast, giving compressions at a rate of between 100 and 120 compressions per minute. After the 30th compression, prepare to give 2 rescue breaths. First, place a breathing barrier over the infant's nose and mouth. Then, open the airway by putting 1 hand on the forehead and 2 fingers on the bony part of the chin and tilting the head back to a neutral position. Make a complete seal over the infant's nose and mouth with your mouth. Blow for about 1 second while looking to see that the chest rises. Take another breath, make a seal, and give a second rescue breath. Continue giving sets of 30 chest compressions and 2 rescue breaths until you notice an obvious sign of life. An AED is ready to use and no other trained responders are available. You have performed 5 sets of CPR and another trained responder is available to switch. You have performed 5 sets of CPR, you are alone, and need to call 911. EMS personnel take over. You are alone and too tired to continue, or the scene becomes unsafe.
I have the AED in the first aid kit.
Infant CPR is something we hope you never have to encounter. However, you should feel empowered now to be able to call 911, to find resources, and to provide that compressions and the breaths. The opportunity to work with you today is something that I found very special, and I hope that you take some of these lessons home. Practice your escape plan, practice with your family members on how to keep the rooms and areas safe for your children from choking, and also to be practiced and ready to do infant CPR. You may not have to do it for your own child, but you're now a responder that can help anybody in this situation, and we hope that you take that admonition home with you. So on behalf of the University of Akron's Emergency Management Program, the American Red Cross and the Hudson Fire Department, I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to be with us today, to be thinking about your infant and their future. If you have more questions, feel free to contact me at the University of Akron, or you can contact Brenda, and she can get me information, or I can channel it back to her. We hope that you take the time to install smoke detectors, check them regularly, and practice all that you've learned. Have a splendid day.